Hola, muy buenas tardes para todos. Bienvenidos a esta sesión informativa. El día de hoy estamos finalizando los webinars con nuestros convenios en donde hay becas del 100% para los beneficiarios de Colfuturo, y en la tarde de hoy vamos a hablar con la representante de la Universidad de Waikato, quien se encuentra en Nueva Zelanda. Ella se llama Margaret, y más tarde también se nos va a unir un estudiante colombiano que está estudiando en la Universidad de Waikato y nos va a compartir cómo ha sido su experiencia al vivir en Nueva Zelanda, al vivir en Waikato, y cómo ha sido su formación en esta universidad. Les recuerdo que este convenio establece que todos los beneficiarios que van a hacer maestrías, tanto by coursework como Masters of Philosophy, van a tener un 30% de reducción en el valor de su matrícula, y un estudiante que vaya, o los estudiantes más bien, que vayan a hacer estudios de doctorado, van a tener el 100% de reducción en el costo de su matrícula si cumplen con los requisitos para hacer un domestic fee estudiante, que en general es estar admitidos a un programa de tiempo completo y estar estudiando en la universidad. Asimismo, también quisiera resaltar que quienes empiecen a hacer su maestría de investigación y posteriormente continúen con su doctorado, también van a tener acceso a la beca del 100% para cubrir la parte de sus estudios doctorales. Entonces, brevemente les recuerdo que la convocatoria de Colfuturo cierra el 28 de febrero y que para recibir los beneficios de los convenios únicamente es necesario que se postulen con la universidad en la cual ustedes están interesados. Una vez ustedes sean seleccionados, automáticamente Colfuturo notificará a la universidad para que ustedes puedan recibir los beneficios del acuerdo según se establece en el documento. Finalmente, cierro recordándoles que no es necesario tener la carta de admisión para postularse a Colfuturo ni para ser beneficiarios de los convenios. Voy a darle ahora la palabra a Margaret. So, Margaret, welcome and thank you so much for doing this information session for our students. Please go ahead.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much, Johanna. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. The traditional Māori greeting for people in New Zealand is tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. It's where we're greeting a number of people. It's a welcome to the land and a welcome to the University of Waikato, or Te Whare Wānanga or Waikato. I'm going to talk today about the university in general, and then talk a little bit more specifically around the research that the university has, a little bit around our postgraduate programs, and a little bit around the application process that we have as well. And hopefully we'll have a student from the university joining us a little bit later on as well. So first of all, the University of Waikato is based in Hamilton, which is in the North Island of New Zealand. New Zealand is relatively simple to get to from Latin America. I have the pleasure of being to Colombia myself, to Bogota, and really enjoyed visiting, and I know that you already enjoy visiting our country as well. So New Zealand has a population of approximately 5 million people. Most of the people live in the North Island, and in the shaded area that you can see there, that is the province of Waikato that the university represents. So we're an hour and a half from Auckland, which is the main populous centre of New Zealand, and it's also the main port of entry. So most people come into Auckland when they visit New Zealand. New Zealand's a relatively small country, as you can see. It's very easy to get around, great transport, relatively cheap to move from one island to the other, and many of our students take advantage of that and travel around and enjoy all the wonderful things that New Zealand has to offer. The picture that we have there is of Hobbiton. If there are any Lord of the Rings fans, you'll recognise that as the Shire, and that's about 40 minutes away. That's a movie set that's been turned into a tourist attraction. So why would you study in New Zealand? New Zealand is a pretty small country in the scheme of things, and we know that lots of students have got a lot of choices when they are coming to study overseas. New Zealand has 8 universities, and all those universities are ranked in the top 500 in the world. We have a very consistent state-based education system in New Zealand, so there's quite a lot of regulation by the government. We don't have any private universities here, so we're all teaching to a high standard that is maintained and monitored by the government. New Zealand I think particularly in the current environment is known as a place of great safety, and we can actually quantify that. We're the second safest country, we're the second most peaceful country in the world according to the Global Peace Index. And New Zealand has had a very a relatively good approach to the pandemic. We've managed to keep, through border closures, we've actually managed to keep relative control over the spread of the virus here. But now we are dealing with Omicron, and we're experiencing that in the community. So it's been a journey for everybody, I know, globally, and we're very sympathetic to other countries that have had a really tough time of things. New Zealanders are very, very lucky and enjoy a really easygoing lifestyle. We have a lot of space, we have a lot of beautiful countryside, not a huge population, so we count ourselves very fortunate, and we do like to welcome other people onto our shores so that they can enjoy that as well. Currently, there are really good work opportunities for international students who come to our shores. Students who study onshore for a minimum of 30 weeks are eligible for 3 years of post-study work rights. That is under review at the moment by our immigration people, so we would always caveat that that's the current situation, and it may not be the situation going forward. It's an interesting feature of the COVID pandemic that some economies are actually doing really well, and ours is doing quite well. It's primarily because the borders have been closed, and there haven't been that many people entering New Zealand, but the economy is very strong. We're experiencing low unemployment and good growth. So that's great for us now, but the reality is that for us to continue to grow, we actually need to let people in, and part of that policy is bringing in really good quality international students to do research and to fill the skills gaps that are in New Zealand. So moving a little bit closer to home, the University of Waikato is based in the city of Hamilton. It's not a very big city, not very big compared to some of the cities that are in Colombia and in Latin America, but it is the fourth largest city in New Zealand, and it's growing rapidly, and we expect it will be the third largest city soon. So we have a population of around about 160, 170,000 people. This picture shows the centre of the city, and we have a beautiful Waikato River running right through the centre of our town. Interestingly, even though we're not the biggest city in the world, we are actually a major hub for many things. A lot of the headquarters of some major companies have relocated to Hamilton because they see the value in being in a logistics hub, and also Auckland has become difficult in terms of the traffic movement and things like that. So right next to the New Zealand, they're actually building a major logistics and freight hub. We're a centre for many advancing manufacturing, particularly agricultural businesses. We have a lot of science facilities on campus, and there are major science facilities based next to us in a technology park. We have, interestingly, the highest ratio of scientists per capita in the world. And we also have the largest teaching hospital in the Southern Hemisphere. So even though we don't have a medical school, we have most of the medical trainees from Auckland, for example, would come to the Waikato to do their training. Lastly, from this slide, we do host the largest agricultural event in the Southern Hemisphere. It's called Field Days. It brings 100,000 people to our city each year, where they're able to observe new technologies, just basically lots and lots of information being shared around the agricultural community. New Zealand is a very agricultural based country. That is the basis of a lot of our exports. This is an overview of our campus. We're on the edge of the Hamilton city. You can see that we've got a large parkland campus here. It's a wonderful atmosphere. A couple of man-made lakes there, which make it a really nice environment for the students. And the majority of the housing around here is actually occupied by students as well. We've got residential colleges for anybody who wants to live on campus. And we also have accommodation that is really styled for older students. So we have some studio apartments where students can just basically rent a studio, which is a kitchen and a separate bathroom, bedroom, just to suit older students who want to be a bit more independent and look after themselves. We also have a second campus in a city called Tauranga, which is it's about an hour and a half travelling to the east, on the east coast, on the coast, there. We have a city campus there. We have a beautiful building that we built just in the last couple of years. There's a growing number of students there. We do offer primarily undergraduate qualifications there, but we're also able to service a lot of our PhD students there, particularly PhD students who are doing study or research in the area of marine biology. There's an amazing marine biology centre over there, and a lot of that work that we do has that coastal focus. Tauranga is the city, also hosts the largest commercial seaport in New Zealand. So it has that very strong focus on supply chain management, logistics, and we do see a lot of students gravitating towards that space for that as well. This is, I just mentioned the campus that we built. This opened in 2019. This is a city campus. This is based right in the middle of Tauranga. We also have accommodation in Tauranga for students as well. One of the things that we try to pride ourselves on is having our students ready for work. A lot of universities will focus on the theory, and there are an increasing number of universities that want to complement that with the practical as well. So it's been a major focus of our curriculum, primarily for undergraduate students in the first instance, but also in the postgraduate area as well, where it lends itself to try and complement the classroom study with work, what we call work integrated learning. And that's where we're trying to get students out on internships, doing placements with businesses, local businesses, doing projects that involve a local business. Maybe it's problem solving for a local business. Just trying to give students that connection and that bridge between university study and trying to get that first job that's often very, very difficult for new graduates. It's proving that they have some experience, and we want to try and give them a helping hand in that respect. So we also have volunteer programs that students can join. So if there isn't any work integrated learning in their program, they can volunteer and gain some work experience as well. Rankings, we're always asked about this, and the university currently has a ranking of 373 in the QS rankings, the university rankings for QS. We do have a Triple Crown accredited management school. For those of you who are not familiar, business schools achieve or try to achieve independent accreditations from external bodies. So EQUIS, AMBA, and there's an American one, sorry, I've forgotten the name of it. So we have all three of those accreditations. So very good management school. And probably for a postgraduate audience, you're more interested in where we rank around the particular subjects that we teach in. And you can see there, reflecting the ranking of the business school, we do have really good standings in a lot of areas within business. Computer science is an area of strength for the university as well. We have a new AI institution that the university has set up just recently, and quite a long history back with the establishment of the internet in New Zealand and with Weta. So anybody who's anybody who knows about open source materials will be familiar with that. The university itself, we are a medium to small size university. In normal times, we've about 13,000 students, and about 2,500 of those are international. Obviously, we don't have as many international students at the moment, and most of our international students are studying with us offshore, waiting for the borders to arrive, to open, sorry. You can see there, we've listed some of the features about the university, the largest supercomputer in New Zealand, the Artificial Intelligence Institute that I mentioned, first to set up a cybersecurity lab, and we also have a Master of Cybersecurity. A lot of our expertise and commitment and the work that we're doing in research is focusing on environment and sustainability. And as I mentioned, a lot of that work is done over on the TAURANGA campus. We have a purpose-built concert chamber and performance space on campus. We have quite a lot of high performance centres that are associated with the university. The Adams Performance Centre is in Tauranga. We also have a strong association with the velodrome here in Cambridge, which is a small town near Hamilton, for cycling. And we have quite a strong relationship with the local rugby, provincial rugby community. Maybe not so relevant for Colombians, but Argentinians are obviously always interested in that kind of thing. We do a wide variety of undergraduate, postgraduate talk programs, and we also have students who come to study abroad and exchange. So students here for a short time. So always trying to achieve a really high diversity and interesting mix of nationalities on our campus. We, because we're a smaller town, a smaller city rather, the cost of living is slightly cheaper here than in some of the bigger cities, and we do have really good accommodation options available for students close by. This is just, I'm not going to run through this, but this just gives you an overview of the academic areas that we have at the university. Quite a broad, comprehensive university. As I mentioned, we don't have a medical school, but we do teach in health. We teach in sport and human performance as well. And the university is actually quite keen to be the host for a third medical school in New Zealand in the future, and has put its hand up to do that. So just focusing in now on the PhD options, or what PhD study looks like at the University of Waikato. It's obviously a full research degree. There's no coursework component to that. It's normally a 3-year degree, but we do find often students do take 4 years to complete, but the length of the scholarship is that we're providing is for 3 years. At Waikato, we do require 2 supervisors. There's a chief supervisor and a secondary supervisor. And often our ability to offer a PhD does hinge on the ability to find 2 supervisors. I do know that the university will consider a second supervisor at a partner university. So if that, so you can always bear that in mind. We do offer PhDs out of both of our campuses. Within each school or faculty, we have dedicated staff who are able to talk and advise potential PhD students about the areas of research that we're able to accommodate. In the previous slide, as was mentioned, the university does have a commitment to sustainable development and innovation. A lot of our research is focused towards supporting those things for the economy, for health and well-being, for the community. The university's motto, Ko te tangata, is actually for the people. So it's quite a strong pillar that the university places an emphasis on. But that's not to say that that's the only places that we do research. That's just where we profile a lot of our research. There's a link there, and hopefully you can, this presentation will be shared with you later. If you click on there, you can actually see some of the high profile work that we're doing, research that we're doing. And then there are links into the various schools where you can get a much more detailed understanding and knowledge of what's happening in those specific areas. Just touching on the higher degree research application process here, it's important to understand that we do have 3 rounds. So the dates are there. After the round has closed, we then try to commit to a 6-week turnaround time for letting a student know whether they've been successful or not. We do require all the documentation to be able to make an assessment. And at this point, I would stress too that you don't actually have to have a supervisor to submit an application. If you do, that's great. Let us know. But we do understand that it can be quite difficult for an academic to get an academic to respond. So don't let that stop you. You just need to give us a really good indication of what your area of interest is and what your topic would be, so that when we send it to the schools, they're able to have a look to see their research and see what their academics expertise is, and whether we can actually provide a PhD in the area of interest. As previously mentioned, we are providing 100% tuition fee scholarship for PhDs and a 30% scholarship for master's students. I'm just going to quickly flick over some of the master's programs that we have. Obviously, we have a Master of Philosophy for students who want to start in the research space. We also have a number of programs that have proven of interest to international students. One of those is a Master of Business Management. A good way of describing this qualification is that it is like an MBA, but it doesn't actually require the amount of work experience that a traditional MBA would require. It's an intensive program. It covers many, many aspects of business. And the types of students that we see here are graduates from other areas, other backgrounds who want to get a knowledge in business, how to run a business. And we get a number of people who are wanting to upskill and become managers and want that really good overview of all the aspects of being a manager and running a business. So HR, finance, marketing, organizational change, it's all covered in that program. We also do a Master of Digital Business. This program can actually also be studied fully online. This one's proven to be very popular with international students, and I think particularly in this environment, it has a lot of boxes that it ticks for many people. We are finding students are particularly interested in the supply chain integration side of this program, and it does have an internship attached as well, as does the MBM actually. Also popular is a Master of Information Technology. This program is sort of offered in tiers. It can actually accommodate students who have no background in information technology as well. So those students need to do a certificate in coding, basically a boot camp to get them up to speed. Then they can move into this qualification. This one has a very, very high success rate for graduates gaining employment. It has a paid internship, which is always attractive, but the students who do this qualification invariably have a job even before they're finished, and they often get a job with the company that they've been interned to. Master of Engineering Practice, again, this has a conversion quality to it as well. Students who don't come from a pure engineering background but a related area can come into this program and work in the specialisms that are mentioned there. The application process for Masters, coursework Masters, is different to that to PhD. You follow our application to enrol process, where you submit an application documentation through our application portal. There are no rounds, no particular deadlines for that. We make conditional offers, unconditional offers based on your background, and then we support you through to enrolment. So that is the end of all the most important points that I wanted to share with everybody today. We are now, hopefully we have our student here, is Juan here to talk a little bit about the university.
I just want to check if Juan is with us. Juan, ¿estás por ahí? Que lo vi conectado. Ok, mientras aparece Juan, I would like to invite you to send the questions, any questions that you have through the chat, so I can ask Margaret or she can read it. So you can send it through the Q&A that is in the chat. So I just want to check. Juan, okay. So we don't have any question up to now, Margaret, but I would like to ask you, what will be the programs that you will highlight at Waikato? Like the most strong programs that you have, that you are best in rankings, that you have the best research?
That's a great question. When you're a comprehensive university, you obviously are servicing a really wide area of disciplines, but there are always some that tend to rise to the top, or you've got some areas where you do have some really, really good academics who are able to publish and raise the profile of an institution. Probably the area, I mean, just harking back to the Waikato Management School and the rankings there, within that space, we have some very, very high ranking and world-renowned academics in tourism management. Mm-hmm. In the past, we've always achieved an amazing ranking in that space. We also do very, very well in economics. We have the #1 ranking in the country for economics. And actually our Vice Chancellor is an economist, which is really nice to have. We also have very good standings in that computer science space. So the Computer Science School of Computer and Mathematical Sciences here has a really long-standing record of, I think, involvement in wider community initiatives. So it was instrumental in bringing the internet to New Zealand. It was also, perhaps you and I don't know, but there's quite a famous open source platform called Weta, and that is actually that was set up through the university. So the computer science area, information technology, just a really good reputation, and also growing reputation in cybersecurity as well. Mm-hmm. But I would also say that the university is putting considerable emphasis on sustainability, particularly around the environment. So we have a lot of work now that's being done by academics in urban ecology, but also sustainability isn't just about the environment, it is about the economy, and it's about health and well-being as well. So there's a really interesting project here on a circular economy. Someone in my office used to work on that one as well. It's really interesting when you get into that kind of thing, because it becomes very interdisciplinary. So it's amazing to see the themes that emerge. You know, the research silos are being broken down, and academics are talking to each other and working collaboratively on something that really impacts on the entire community, not just one particular area of the community. I think if you have a look at the research showcase page that I talked about, there's some amazing initiatives there that are just really heartwarming, as well as good for the community, good for the university as well.
And I would like to ask you about the language proficiency, because sometimes the issue is that the students need to have a better English level. So what are the options the university offer for students to improve their English?
So for students who haven't met the IELTS requirement, we actually have our own English language college, and that's based here on campus. We are more than happy. We make offers that are conditional on English, so the student can have their PhD offer and know that they'll get a place once they pass their English. So they can come here and do the English that will bring them up to that formal requirement that we need. But sort of below the line, there's some really, really good support for PhD students in particular before they start. So when they're in the English language college, but when they're here as well. So we have a centre for tertiary learning, which supports PhD students in some of the skills, English, but other skills that they need to be able to be really successful in that long-term research project and delivering on the milestones and the goals that they have. So we have academic writing modules that students can do, modules that support students in research skills, modules that support students in planning, proofreading, editing. There's a myriad of things, of processes and systems and academic learnings that are put in place to try and support PhD students in particular to ensure that they're as successful as possible. Not all students have got a research background. So in New Zealand, for example, a student can come through from a 4-year undergraduate degree. They can do an honours degree and actually move into a PhD, but there's a big difference between a 4th-year honours project and a PhD. So we know that we have to wrap amazing support around PhD students and international students in particular. And we have a really good number of PhD students, international PhD students. In fact, more international PhD students than domestic PhD students. So we know how to look after them.
Great. And also our agreement is for, or like the 100% scholarship is for our PhD students. So it will be a nice opportunity, a great opportunity to enroll in an institution like this one where, as Margaret mentioned, is a comprehensive institution. You will have access to many resources that probably you won't have here in Colombia. So please keep doing your research about this university and its programs. And Margaret, there is one last question. What will be your advice for the students in order to prepare in advance? How many months, years, what kind of information would you recommend them to collect in order to apply and get a successful application and admission from you?
Sure, that's a great question, because the PhD application process I mean, I'll be honest, it's not as straightforward as a coursework application. So in order to have a stress-free application process, I would strongly recommend starting 12 months out. And we recommend that to all our students, because there are many parts of the process that you need to go through. So for a student who is just starting out fresh, you could start talking to an academic here, but we can never guarantee that they will actually reply. So the important thing to do is to have all of your documentation, identify people who will be academic referees for you. If you've got work that you are publishing, that's so important to be able to demonstrate your academic writing. So if you have got an opportunity to be involved in a publication, put your hand up and do it. You know, there are many, you know, you have people who are the leads, you have people who support. Just getting your name on a publication and being involved in something like that is a huge bonus to people applying for PhDs. English. You bone up on your English, spend time with people who speak English, listen to English television, watch English movies, just work on your English. Listen to watch New Zealand movies, because our accent is a little bit different, and we understand that we're not that easy to understand all the time. And then once you're ready, have all your documentation ready, so that when you apply for one of our rounds, you are accepted into that round and assessed. Unfortunately, there's so many applications that we get that if the documentation isn't all there by the time the round is closed, your application won't be processed, and you will have to apply for the next round after that. So have all of your documentation ready. And then consider what is involved in moving to New Zealand. So at the moment, the borders are closed, but they will be reopening in October. Our immigration people haven't been processing visas international student visas for a very long time, and they've moved to an online system. So you need to give yourself about 3 months for that visa, we suspect, to be processed. PhD students can start whenever they like. They're not tagged, or they're not confined to an intake. We normally start our students in our system every month, but you can arrive in New Zealand at any time. But think about what you need when you get here. Accommodation, are you bringing your family with you? We have a graduate school of research which supports our PhD students, but it's really good to give that some support, give that some thought prior to coming. Have an understanding and an idea of what your needs are and what your family needs are, so that our team can help you find that.
Thank you, Margaret. It's very good advice. I was listening to you, and you mentioned everything that we recommend the students in advance in order to prepare. So it was great to be.
Yep.
Yes,
it's so
great
true.
To be coordinated on that. So all of you, thank you for joining this information session, especially Margaret. Thank you so much for doing it and for the information you provide us. And you have all the contact information here, so please feel free to contact Margaret, her team, and everyone at Waikato University. I had the opportunity to visit the university like some years ago, and all of them were so warm and very friendly. So feel free to ask any question, because I know they will be happy to help you. Thank you, Margaret. Any last word?
No. I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of their evening to listen to me, and absolutely just get in touch with us. We're more than happy to help. And thank you to Johanna for organizing all of this.
Ok, thank you. Buenas noches a todos y gracias por unirse a esta sesión.
Thank you.